1907 at 627 West 43rd Street. And I lived there until I went to kindergarten from there, so I must have been around 3 years old. And we had Dorothy, my sister, and Kate, and Mamie, and Bertha, and Ann. 5 of them, and 1 Joe. And my father was a Singer sewing machine repairman. He made 50 cents a day. And my poor mother had to live on that. And when I was 3 years old, I was sent to kindergarten, and I came home with the ball. They shouldn't have a ball like that. It was so nice. I brought it home, and the next day 2 policemen came to the door and wanted to know where the little girl was that was in kindergarten. And they took the ball to wherever it was going, and they exonerated me. I was too little to go to jail. And well, 3 days after I was born, my mother and father and I had to go to the county hospital. We had yellow jaundice, or as they call it today, hepatitis, and we stayed there for a couple of days. And they thought I had when the baby's born, it's yellow. They thought I had that, but no, it wasn't. And I had a regular case of yellow jaundice, and so did those 2. And then we came home, and then the next thing I remember, my sister Mamie got a job at Marshall Fields, and she worked 2 weeks, and she got scarlet fever and died. And I remember the funeral. Nobody could come to it. We went in 1 carriage to the cemetery, and they fumigated our house while we were gone. We came back. And then the next death in our family was Ann. She was 5 years old. She had scarlet fever too. And the baby died of scarlet fever. And then we moved from that house down the street to another up over the tavern. And that's where my mother learned she used to swing the club to get the girls in at night. They'd be out playing with kids in the neighborhood, and they couldn't come in because there was so many drunken men in the driveway. That was a way to live, wasn't it? And she got a club. She was a little bit of a woman, say about a little bit over 5 foot. She got a club and was, don't come near her, she would have killed you. And then the next thing in my life, no, wait a minute now. We moved out of there.
What about the boil on your leg?
I think we moved to 43rd Place. And she bought this little house, and it's the first time we lived in a house. But the next thing I remember in my life was Ann dying. Well, she died when we lived up over Murtaugh's. And we buried her, and Joe was pushed over the thing and got his arm broken. Oh. Did you ever sit there and hear your brother screaming when they're trying to pull your arm? You'd sooner do it yourself. And there I'm stuck.
What about the boil on your leg? Where you had to remember you had the boil on your leg and had to go to the hospital?
I lived, I must have lived up over Murtaugh's when we had that. I had a great big tumor right here on my leg. And my mother put linseed oil to draw it. We went to a free doctor up at the church, the public church. I can't remember the name of the religion. But the lady said to my mother, "You'll have to take that leg off." And my mother said, "No way, I won't take her leg off." So they took me to Children's Memorial Hospital. I was 5 then. And they put me in bed. I don't know what they did. And then they told me I could get out and help the kids that were in the room. And I did. And Sunday night, I think I came in on Thursday, and Sunday night I just got in bed when wham, this thing broke. And the nurses and the doctor came in and they were so happy they didn't have to cut off my leg. And then I came home a couple of days later and I felt great. See, you can't knock me off.
That's right.
And then we go on from there. I went to the Fallon School till I graduated. And then I went to the Catholic school for 2 years and almost got beat up by this nun. They had to put all nuns in the, what do you call it? And I didn't have to pay for my books. And I said I came to this school with an understanding that my books were free. It was a free school. And she said, oh yeah, I forgot about you. Then I got in a contest to write something, and I won. And there was a priest in on this deal. I was supposed to get $5, and they gave it to Brian, somebody who was better than me. And the nun said, not in the sense of the story, but he was better than you. You know, now you figure that out. And anyway, I stayed in that school, 6th and 7th grade. I said to my mother, I'm going back to the Fallon School and graduate. I know what I'm doing. And I did.
You were the best reader in the Fallon School.
Yeah, when I graduated, my sister gave me a pound of hamburger. Can you believe it? It was just coming on the market.
Oh.
That's how old I am. And from then on, I went back to St. Gabriel's for the commercial for high school. I paid $4 a month. I worked at the Boston store every Saturday and made $2 and paid my own tuition. And I ran into a couple Mercy nuns, and the sister said to me, she wants me to pay for my graduation ticket. I said, you're kidding. She said, you've been working since April. And I said, why do I have to pay for my ticket? And then she said, well, you go to Margaret Neville's house and find out why she's not paying her tuition. I said, no, I wouldn't go. Margaret was a friend of mine. And that's where we met Jimmy Doody.
Oh, and his brother.
Every Friday, you know.
Were there two Doodies?
Yeah, Jim and Bill.
Bill.
There was another one. There was 3 of them. They all died of consumption or something. I don't know what I think Jimmy had cancer, but he was over across the sea, you know, investigator in the war. Yeah, I wrote to all of those kids. But anyhow, we had Jimmy Doody, and on Friday we had to go to church for the Stations of the Cross, so you had to bring your hat. And I had a hat, I got a picture of it someplace there. I had a hat with cherries on it. Jimmy put it on, and he put my coat on, and he was, you know, waltzing around. Then comes Sister Brendan and said, what is going on here? And Jimmy said to her, well, she wanted me to try on her hat to get the right size. And she said, Jimmy, you're lying. Now, you're Irish, aren't you? And he said, yes, sister. And she said, okay, take those things off and go and sit down. But every Friday we used to go, we had kids from all over coming to this class, you know. And they couldn't get over him. He was something. He was a nice looking kid. But I met my husband through him. He was his cousin.
In the park, was it?
Huh?
Do you remember when you met him? In the park, I think.
Yeah, I met him on 43rd Street. We were going to the Emmett show, and we met him and Jimmy. And Jimmy said, this is my cousin Dan. And I said, oh. And that's all. Then I met him a couple more times. And there was a big bunch of...
You gotta stop for a minute.
Did I break it?
No, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jason.
There was a big bunch of kids that went to the Emmett on Sunday. And I met all the kids and all the people that, called me up to make a date with me. And finally, Dad got nerve enough to ask me. I was only about 16 years old. And my mother approved of Dan. But I didn't meet him at home, I met him someplace else. And when I was 17, he decided I was too young to go steady. I went out with him every Sunday night. I don't call that going steady. And I said, okay. So I had a real good time going to dances after that with the kid, with Peggy, that girl that married the Indian.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Isn't she Bruce Jones's sister's mother-in-law?
yeah, somebody's mother.
Whitmarsh.
Teresa. Isn't it?
Dorothy Whitmarsh is her name?
Yeah.
Peggy,
Yeah.
can't think of what her name was.
Peggy got married and she had a little baby.
Peg Lynch, was she?
And she had a, yeah, eventually. And she had to go all the way around to go out to put the clothes on the line. And she'd come back in and her daughter, her other daughter, had the baby under her arm like this and said, here's your kid. All she does is cry. And but we went to Midway and we went to the Trianon Ballroom and we had I met so many people. And I started going with Jack Hannigan. And Marty or somebody saw me out with him. And Jack Hannigan was a kid that was working in construction, and he's one of the first ones that put these sprinklers, and he had a car, and we used to take my mother out on Sunday. Oh, he liked her. She didn't care too much about him, he ate too much. She'd bring him back for supper, and she'd cook the whole supper, you know, and he'd eat, oh my God, he'd eat 5 pork chops if you'd let him. And she said to him, I'm so happy you don't live with us. And, you know, that was a lot out of her budget. And then I broke, oh, he didn't give me any nice Christmas presents like your father did. And I didn't want to, I wanted to lose him. And I did.
Stop for a minute.
Let's take a break.
Okay. And you have to let this thing
Am I
rest.
tired? Is that interesting or?
Yeah.
That's great.
great.
That's really great.
I'm asking
No, I
her
just think it's-
questions, and just a reminder, make
That's
sure she
okay.
gets it all in.
Yeah, well, you can ask her louder.
My goodness, this will take you 4 years to get through it.
No,